We're talking about Jordan Peele's new film, Nope.
Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I'm almost completely down the middle on it because that first half, I was ready to fall asleep. I had the bags under my eyes got bags under their bags. I was so just worn out by the halfway part of this because it just feels like it goes nowhere for a really long time. Basically, the premise, though, we should back way up. Let's talk about the premise. Everybody knows it's an alien movie. The premise is Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, our brother-sister, they run this little horse thing, or more accurately, Daniel Kaluuya runs this horse training thing for Hollywood movies so they can use horses in their movies that are well trained. And aliens show up every once in a while and eat a horse. They pull up a horse in their little tornado tractor beam and they eat the horse. And that's essentially the premise. They want to get footage of this alien spaceship, which turns out to not be a spaceship. It turns out to be like a creature, which is an idea I loved, honestly. The spaceship is the creature. It's not filled with little creatures. The spaceship is not even a spaceship. It's a beast of sorts. It's an apex predator, I think they call it, which is a great idea, and I really love the execution of where that goes in the third act, and I won't spoil that, but I enjoyed that.
There's plenty of videos for flying shit online.
Ain't nobody gonna get what we gonna get.
What we gonna get?
The money shot.
What's up?
Undeniable proof of aliens on camera. The Oprah shot.
The first act is pretty okay. It opens with this scene of a horrific CG monkey. Doesn't look very good. The clothes on the monkey look like Play-Doh. It just was not a great effect. But the CG monkey with blood all over it on this sound stage for a TV show, and he's got blood on him, and there's blood everywhere, and there's a girl's body, and you go, oh, why does this have anything to do with anything? Turns out it doesn't, but we could talk about that. And then we cut to the main story with Daniel Kaluuya and his dad gets killed. And then Daniel Kaluuya is trying to continue his father's legacy. He's taking horses to like a commercial, and the horse gets a little crazy, gets a little rowdy, and they get fired. And so this is kind of brings him and his sister together. They're clearly estranged. They tell each other to F off all the time. They tell each other that like they suck. And the whole movie is kind of about them coming back together, which is the ultimate arc that these two have. And it's incredibly one note. Again, something we can talk about later. But that's basically the first act. Just establishing all of these characters. You get a couple scenes of Steven Yeun, who is like a carnival hack guy who runs this tiny little Old West town. And it was revealed that he was on that show with the monkey that killed some people. And he didn't get killed, and he's traumatized by it. And then he gets killed by the spaceship, and then that's it. I don't know if there's some, like, theme of man trying to control nature and it not working. That's the only parallel I could draw from this excessive scenes of this monkey killing people on the soundstage of a TV show, and Steven Yeun then being revealed that he knows about the alien beast thing in the sky, and he keeps feeding it horses from that ranch that's selling them to him for spectacle. I mean, I guess that's the overall point, is that human beings want spectacle really bad, and until something or someone gets killed, then no one pays attention. I mean, okay, we're getting a little off track. Let's get back on topic, which is the first act the second act is a nightmare. And it is chock full of these scenes with this monkey, and then Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer having nothing to do. It's like, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what, and I say they, but it's Jordan Peele. He wrote and directed this. I don't know what he was thinking in the majority of this second act, because Daniel Kaluuya just kind of walks around. He doesn't do anything, and Keke Palmer is just kind of there with them. There's a couple of creepy scenes with the spaceship zipping around in the clouds and picking up a horse, and that's it. That's like all that they do. They bring an obnoxious guy from like Geek Squad over to install cameras on their house so that they can get shots of the camera or from the cameras, and then the movie also forgets about the cameras there's this whole sequence which was pretty fun, I admit, where the spaceship, after it kills Steven Yeun, it picks up all these people and eats them. It like drives over to the Kaluuya ranch and then like dumps all of the blood and guts and paraphernalia from these people it just ate on their house. And it's a pretty well executed scene. A lot of it's in the ranch house, and you're seeing it and you're seeing it from the perspective of Keke Palmer, who's like hiding, and you see the blood dripping down, and you hear things thrown around, and then Daniel Kaluuya's in a little truck, and it drops a big thing on it, and it's a pretty solid sequence. But through all of that, I couldn't help but think, like, where's the cameras in all of this? I know they explain most of the movie is like, oh, they just go offline, you know, anytime the spaceship's around, they go offline, and that's probably what happened. But I think you needed to show that, because then I'm just wondering, why didn't they think to look at the cameras? Also, if it only shuts down digital objects, the first thing you would do is get a vintage mechanical film camera from eBay for $5, and then use that to go, got it. Because that's literally what they do in the third act. They call a cinematographer, and he shows up with this big camera, and he's like, I built this myself. It's got a hand crank, and there's no electrical parts in it. And I was like, why would you need to build that yourself? That just exists already. I don't know. Maybe Jordan Peele just thought, like, oh, Stephen Young has actually nothing to do in this story, so we need to give him some backstory, which is this TV show where a monkey went crazy and then smashed some people, but they didn't die because one of them shows up to the spectacle when they all get eaten up, and then she gets eaten anyway, so her life is just misery. She gets like pounded on by a chimp and loses half her face and then just eaten by an alien spaceship. That girl's life is a nightmare. Stephen Young is just a plot device. He's too good of an actor to be a plot device. They go to him and he's like, yeah, I'll buy your horses. And then they steal like a plastic horse from him, and he shows up and he's like, hey, where'd you get that? And they're like, none of your business. And he's like, okay, well, you're invited to the show, bye. And then he goes to the show, and then they get eaten by a spaceship, and that's his whole character. Not much. And speaking of characters, the characters in general are pretty one note. What I described Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya as is all they are, which is Kaluuya is understated and somber, and he doesn't say much. And then you do literally the polar inverse of that, and that's Keke Palmer. And their arc is that Keke Palmer learns to work as a team with Daniel Kaluuya, and Daniel Kaluuya learns to work as a team with Keke Palmer, but a little bit more assertive. So he becomes a little bit more assertive, and she becomes working as a team with Daniel Kaluuya, and maybe a little bit harder of a worker. I'm stretching. I don't know. Again, I'm just so torn on this. The third act really does upswing like crazy. It's a lot of fun. There's some cool visuals. And throughout the movie, there are some really striking visuals. The cinematography is solid. There's one shot I remember where Daniel Kaluuya is on the ground, and we get to see the spaceship using its tornado tractor beam for the first time, and it's this wide shot sucking up the plastic horse, and it looked great. There's a lot of really good, strong visuals in this. It's just marred by all of these weird choices and all these underwritten parts of the movie that feel like you could either cut them out and nothing would change, or they desperately needed to be amped up. It's so weird. But I did really like the last 30, 40 minutes of this. It gets crazy. It's a lot of fun. I won't say that it's scary. Jordan Peele has said that his goal was to frighten people, but it's really, I didn't find it that like scary or tense ever. It's kind of just a drama with aliens around.
Are you ready?
There is one sequence where I got a little uncomfortable, and it's when you see the inside of the spaceship with the people being like smashed through these little tubes as they're being sucked into it, and that made me a little uncomfortable because I'm claustrophobic. But other than that, I was like, yeah, okay. It's not really that funny. And for Jordan Peele, like Get Out has some really laugh out loud moments, but it's not really that funny. And Us has some striking, horrific imagery, and this really doesn't. It's weird. It's kind of just right down the middle of everything he's done. It's not funny. It's not really scary. It's not really anything. It has a kind of convoluted message. I don't know, man versus nature, man trying to control apex predators doesn't go well. The media is corrupt because they only show up when people die. I don't know. I really don't know. It's just kind of a messy movie with some really good visuals and some strong performances. And that's it. I'd give it a 6. Yeah, Jordan Peele just hasn't hit for me yet. Us was really disappointing. Get Out's good, but his movies, I feel like they just evaporate from my brain as soon as I watch them. Like, I don't remember anything about Us. And Nope is starting boom, go in one ear, out another. Get Out has some strong points I remember, but that one too is like, boom, boom. I don't remember half of it. So I'll be there for whatever he makes next. At least he has a lot of interesting ideas. So that's something. That's something.